You don't have to accept passive-aggressive behavior, and you shouldn't. People get away with that BS because nobody says anything to them.
The power is in you. But when you don't feel confident, you don't feel that the power is in you, do you?
The core problem is that most of us look in the mirror and reject the person that we see. Mm-hmm. And then we bring that insecurity out into the world. The only way to end this is to attack it holistically. Because so much of this happens at the subconscious level, and it gets triggered first by your nervous system, and you're not even aware of it. I am on a mission to wake everybody up to help you break the habit of self-rejection and self-hatred and self-doubt. Is it just me, or does it seem like there's more toxic people in the world today? The jerk behind you that's tailgating you, the boss that keeps sending you texts in the middle of the night, the roommate that keeps borrowing your stuff without asking. They seem happily unaware of the negative impact they have on you, and some of them even seem satisfied by pushing your buttons and creating chaos. You know why toxic people defy logic? Toxic people don't know that they're toxic. You see, toxic behavior, it's really easy to recognize in other people, but it's almost impossible to recognize in ourselves. So what if I flipped the topic on you? What if I told you there is no such thing as a toxic person? What if I told you I want you to stop calling people toxic? It's not the person who's toxic, it's their behavior that's toxic. What makes a behavior toxic is when it crosses a boundary for you. And that's important because that means you get to decide what is toxic and what is not. And when you focus on boundaries with toxic behavior rather than people, you can draw boundaries everywhere in your life. Boundaries are rules that you create for how other people can behave toward you. You can't rid the world of toxic behavior, but you can protect yourself from experiencing it. The life you want is going to require you to say no. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you selfish. In fact, it makes you confident. It makes you strong, and it makes you honest. Every time you say no, you draw a boundary and you say yes to something that is important. You. All right, so here's the thing about jealousy and passive-aggressive behavior from people. Because people that give you the silent treatment or are passive-aggressive, you know, those people that give you a compliment, but when you stop and think about it, you're like, wait a minute. Were they just actually trashing me? You know when people do that. When people are passive-aggressive or they give you fake compliments or they give you the silent treatment, typically that's fueled out of jealousy. And jealousy is nothing more than an emotion that people feel when you have something that they feel they deserve. And a lot of us feel jealousy because it's easier to be jealous of somebody and to stay in a negative state than it is to push yourself to do the work to get the thing that you want. And so it's almost like it's your unrealized dream showing up in your face. And what's also right in your face is the fact that somebody else worked for it and you haven't yet. And so instead of going, oh, note to self, time to start cheering for myself and use that example as something positive to motivate myself, a lot of people tend to be like, I hate you. I hate you because you have what I have. So here's what you're going to do when you deal with people that are passive aggressive or jealous. First of all, don't get triggered by it. That's their stuff. It's not your stuff. Second, you're doing the right thing. If people ask, share what worked for you. Third, distance yourself. You don't need to hang out with these people. If you're making positive changes in your life, hang out with the people that are cheering for you. Just because you've known people for years doesn't mean you have to hang out with them for the years to come. So distance yourself. And fourth, if it's really passive aggressive, say something. I literally got an email from a very close friend of mine, And this person had emailed me and wanted me to give advice about SEO, which is how you optimize your website for people to find you when they're Googling you. And the truth is, we don't do a lot of SEO because almost all of our business is social referral, which means that people are coming from social media. And I missed the email. I didn't even see it. I mean, I'm moving 1,000,000 miles an hour. I have ADD. I get at least 300 emails a day, seriously. And I live on planes during the week. And so occasionally I miss an email. So a week later, I literally get an email from this person that was like, thanks a lot. I guess you're too busy to respond. Like, completely not even passive aggressive. It was aggressive. And I wrote back, what the swear word? Don't talk to me like that. It's unacceptable. And next time I drop a ball, I have a lot going on. Maybe you could just text me and say, hey, did you send the email? So before you get all offended, maybe because of whatever, you're envious of what I'm doing or you're insecure. I don't even know. Instead of lashing out at me, which is unacceptable, try just texting and assuming good intent, assuming I missed the email, assuming I'm busy, assuming I want to get back to you, assuming I'm researching something for you, instead of jumping on somebody because of your insecurity. And so here's the thing. You don't have to accept passive-aggressive behavior, and you shouldn't. People get away with that BS because nobody says anything to them, and it becomes a habit. And it becomes a way for somebody to deal with their jealousy and their insecurity by lashing out at you. And so I think it is fully within your boundaries and within your right, and it should be something that you develop the courage to do, that when somebody says something to you that is a fake compliment, that's actually a bash, or it is lashing out at you, you need to literally be like, unacceptable. Or, hey, I don't know if you meant it this way, but that actually felt like a slam and that's not cool. And if I've done something, say something to me. But you don't have to behave like that. So again, how do you deal with jealousy? Recognize it for what it is. It's their stuff. Number 2, don't let it trigger you in terms of making you feel bad about you. Number 3, spend less time with that person for sure. And number 4, it is fully within your right to say that the way that you just talked to me is unacceptable. Please don't do it again. Please don't do it again. And you'll be surprised, because I find that most passive-aggressive people and most people that act out of jealousy, they're never called out on it. And when you bring it to the light and you call it out for what it is in terms of how it makes you feel, the person's almost always mortified and apologetic, and they tend to change, at least how they interact with you, because they know they can't get away with it. So that's how I would deal with jealous people in your life. And the most important thing, hang out with people that cheer for you. This is so important. I can't say this enough. Behavior is contagious. They have proven this. Google the Framingham study. It was a really famous heart study that was done where they looked at human behavior over what's called a longitudinal study, which basically means they studied people for a number of years. And they found that you catch the behavior of other people. If you hang out with smokers over time, your objection to smoking lowers because you're hanging out with smokers and you become socialized to it, and you are more likely to smoke. If you hang out with happier people, if you hang out with people that are more successful than you, if you hang out with people that run all the time, guess what happens? You become socialized to those positive behaviors. The fastest way to make a behavior change is to hang out with people that are positive, that are cheering for you, that are up to cool stuff, that are so busy and engaged in their life, they don't have time for passive-aggressive bullshit because they're busy building something and being appreciative. And that's who you should hang out with. And that's why I'm here. I'm so happy you're here watching me, because that's who I want to be in your life. I want to be somebody that's cheering for you. I want to be somebody that is demonstrating what it looks like to literally rise above the noise and rise above the negativity and constantly refocus yourself on what's going right. Constantly look on the horizon and don't see what's wrong. Look for solutions. And that's why I want to be the one, in case nobody else tells you, to tell you that I love you, because I know that's what you want in your life. And how many of you are struggling with the issue of setting boundaries with family members and then feeling this level of, quote, guilt when you start to do so. If you relate to this is going to be incredibly helpful information that I'm about to share with you. If you have any questions, just put them right in the comments. I might have some time to take some questions. But first we're going to talk about setting boundaries, and then we're going to get into guilt. Okay, so let's talk about setting boundaries. So interestingly, Lisa is already setting boundaries, because did you hear what she said? She has stopped reaching out, because why would you step into an emotional boxing ring only to get punched in the face, right? So she's stopped reaching out. But she has remained in contact on Facebook, where she has liked posts, which is a very positive way to interact with somebody. She's commenting in positive ways, very positive way, make short little comments. It's literally like giving somebody a hug from far away. When you see somebody liking your posts, leaving positive comments, it stimulates a dopamine release. And so it literally does have a positive impact on the other end without you getting entangled emotionally. So she has set boundaries. So question number one, how do you know when you need to set boundaries? Here's how you can think about it. So think about your relationships on a scale from 1 to 10, right? 1 to 10. 1 being that it's an absolutely fabulous relationship, no issues whatsoever. You're super happy about this person. You're super happy about your connection with this person. 10 is, it is so triggering. You're so uncomfortable. You can barely be around the person. You have a visceral reaction. Boundary, 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 boundary. If you are anywhere in the range of 6 to 10, it is time to think about boundaries. And what are boundaries? I'm going to show you. Hey, Oakley! Let me see if Oakley can hear me. Oh! Can you know those snow globes in your room? Would you mind bringing them down? I want to show everybody on this live stream something. So I want to show you something about boundaries. I'm so psyched he's home, because I know he wants to say hello, and I can't wait to show you this, and I'm pretty sure.
Hi, everyone.
All right, cool. Dude, who gave you this?
Mousy.
Oh, my mom. My mom gave you this.
Guys.
Bye, dude. You don't want to stay? You good? Okay, he's good. Snow globe from my mother to Oakley. Boundaries is a confusing word. I want you to think about force fields, right? I want you to think about the fact that if you're a 6 to a 10 with somebody that's triggering you, so 1 is blissful, 10 is visceral, just can't be around that person. You need to think about force fields, because if they're part of your family, you might have to see them unless they're dangerous or destructive or they're racist or they're bigoted, in which case you don't have to see them and you can make those boundaries very clear. So I think about toxic people like snow globes, right? They love to shake crap up. They love to shake stuff up, and they love to especially shake you up and poke at you and trigger you. And look at all that crap that they're stirring up. Now, the interesting thing about a snow globe is that this is like representative of your head, okay? And so I like snow globes as a visual for when you're talking about boundaries, because they can both represent the person who triggers you. So visualize your mom or your son or your ex-husband or your brother or your sister-in-law or that cousin or whatever it may be, and how whenever they do that stuff that triggers you, it's like they're shaking their own globe, and their own head does this. So a force field boundaries basically means that when the toxic person in your family starts doing this to their own head and to the own situation, let that crap that gets stirred up stay in their head. You want a boundary. You don't want to climb in the globe with them and get all shaken up either, right? You want distance from them. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about boundaries. It's not just physical distance, it's emotional distance. So that when you see their stuff shaking up, when you see them starting to throw the shame and the guilt and all that crap around, you realize, whoa, look at how much unresolved garbage they have in their head. Wouldn't that stink to live with all this kind of stuff in your head? I mean, come on. How terrible would it be to be such an emotional, toxic basket case that you got to use shame and guilt and stir things up all the time because you can't live otherwise? The secret to boundaries with your family is realizing that their stuff needs to stay in their globe. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to operate in a way that when they start shaking their globe, that you all of a sudden start getting shaken up in your head. Their stuff stays with them, okay? That's what boundaries mean. And I find this visual to be extraordinarily helpful when I'm dealing with toxic people because it allows me, here's the secret, I literally visualize when somebody is starting to do something that's really like toxic or annoying or like whatever. They're throwing a little hissy fit about something that's stupid as a way to get control of a situation in a family, because family is all about power dynamics and being the center of attention, right? When families don't work, that's what's not working about them. That somebody's upset and they're trying to put the attention on themselves and they're trying to control what's going on. So they shake. They use all kinds of emotional garbage to shake the globe. So when I'm around somebody that's like that, I visualize literally a snow globe on top of their shoulders. And visualizing that for me allows me to set an emotional boundary and go, whoop, force field's up. They're busy shaking stuff. That's about them. Doesn't have anything to do with me, because shame is a weapon. Guilt is a weapon that people use to manipulate you. And that's why it is so important. Now, I also have a 6-month rule. A 6-month rule for people that are toxic, that are constantly doing this kind of stuff with you. If you love them, give them 6 months. Offer up options to help them. Offer up options around therapy, books to read. Talk to them. Does it bother you that you're this upset about this kind of thing? Have you ever wanted to try to resolve it? Have you ever wanted to feel more settled? Because what happens when you stop shaking? All of that crap that you stir up starts to settle. It's pretty amazing. But what's interesting about toxic people is that oftentimes they don't want help. You want to know why? Because if I can't do this, I don't know how to control you. And the second you stop reacting to this, I'm going to do more of this because I don't know how to control you when you don't react to it. And so the secret is, don't step into the globe with them. For 6 months, offer support, offer resources. And if after 6 months somebody in your life is not willing to stop doing this to themselves and to you, you know it's time for very significant boundaries, perhaps even cutting them out, if it's that distressful to you. They'll get the message all right. They'll get the message. And first they're going to freak out though, because they manipulate you by doing this, right? How many of you jump the second that your mom or your dad throws the guilt around? How many of you feel bad when your brother or your sister makes you feel bad about what you didn't do based on what they wanted you to do? The second you stop reacting to that stuff, they're going to shake a lot more, and then they're going to get really, really lonely. And then they're going to realize what I'm doing isn't working, so I now need to change. You can only change your response, so stop responding to people that do this. Recognizing these signs is critical, even though it might be hard for you to accept it. Now, the fact that you're even watching this video tells me that you're already thinking that this relationship isn't gonna last. And even if that isn't necessarily true, those thoughts that you're having that make you second guess yourself and start acting weird and clingy, those will destroy a good relationship. You have a choice to make right now. You either address the 5 things I'm about to talk about in this video, or face the truth and end the relationship yourself because it's over. So what are the 5 signs? Sign number 1, you don't feel like yourself. In this relationship, you feel like you're walking on eggshells. You don't know how to act when you're in public or when you're around their friends. You aren't sure if you should hold hands. You're uncomfortable talking about your feelings because you don't know if they're on the same page. All of these things mean you don't feel comfortable being you. And any relationship where you have to twist yourself into somebody that you're not in order to keep the peace, it only starts a war inside of you. And those kind of relationships, they always blow up. The second sign, you're constantly questioning how you should communicate. If you're nervous about sending a text asking if they want to hang out, or do you obsess over whether they opened your Snap but they haven't responded, or how long it's been since they texted you back? Do they watch your Instagram story but not respond to your text messages? Are you compulsively checking social media to try to get the clues you need that it's okay to reach out? Any relationship where you spend more time questioning rather than talking about communication is a relationship that's broken. Sign number 3, you think about where the relationship stands all the time. So do you constantly think about questions like, where's this going? Are we exclusive? Are we committed? Can I introduce you to my family and take you to a work event? How should I introduce you? What are you thinking? What do you say about me? Not knowing where you stand means this relationship doesn't stand a chance. Sign number 4. You're starting to get annoyed. You're now the one opening snaps and not responding. You're saying you're too busy to hang out in order to send a message. You're hesitant to commit to future plans because you don't know the future of this relationship. You snap at them more than usual. All those cute little things that used to make you laugh, they're really annoying. And here's the kiss of death. If their name pops up on your phone or they walk through the door at the end of the day and you feel dread and not excitement, that's a sign that you're over this person. And the 5th and final sign, you're questioning whether or not you have the same values. If you're starting to feel like you're losing yourself, for example, maybe you're drinking more than you'd like. You're spending less time with your friends. You're skipping the gym. You're only doing things, for example, like listening to certain types of music because it interests them. This is a major problem. If there isn't a balance between the two of you, you will always feel like a less important part of the relationship because you are. Now here's a quick test to see if you're losing yourself. Just go out alone tonight with your friends, and if it feels like a relief because you can finally act like yourself, that's a sign that this is not a relationship for you. I bet what you're doing is you're confusing chemistry for compatibility. You see, chemistry is like a match that gets lit, but eventually it burns out. Compatibility means you and your partner bring out the best in you, which is why it goes the distance. So let me recap the 5 signs. You don't feel like yourself. You're constantly questioning how to communicate. You think about where the relationship stands all the time. You're starting to get annoyed. And you're questioning whether or not you have the same values. This is the wake-up call you needed. As Lizzo likes to say, truth hurts. But clearly, you need to hear it. I hope this video made it easy for you to recognize when someone is no longer right for you. Now it's on you to accept it, to move on, and the next time you're about to get into a relationship, remember, you deserve someone who brings out the best in you. But let's detour into the lane of anxiety, of patterns and trauma, and talk about why people self-sabotage.
Yes.
People don't self-sabotage intentionally. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, today, I'm going to screw up my life.
Right.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drink myself on the ground. I'm going to cheat on my wife. I'm going to embezzle for my company. I'm going to lie to everybody about how I'm actually feeling. I'm going to stop taking my meds. I'm going to kick the dog. Like, nobody does that. What happens is people get triggered.
And they react.
And then they fall into old patterns. And so what happens, I believe, in relationships in particular, or jobs, where you're like, this time it's going to be different, is it's different for the first 3 to 6 months when it's novel, and when you're intentional, and when everything counts.
But then when you got to face yourself.
Then when it becomes like part of your life, you get lazy and you slip into old patterns. Or when the stakes get really high. Let's say you're somebody who had a parent die early, or your dad abandoned the family and you're scared to love somebody. And so you fall deeply for somebody. And then what gets triggered is this tremendous fear that they're going to leave.
Yeah.
Because that's your lived experience. And if you go back to what you did as a child to cope with that fear that somebody's going to leave, that's the exact pattern that you will repeat as an adult. The only way to end this, or to try to get your arms around it, is to attack it holistically. Because so much of this happens at the subconscious level, and it gets triggered first by your nervous system, and you're not even aware of it.
Right.
And so there's a tool that I talk about in this book called high-fiving your heart.
Your heart.
Your heart, yep. So what you do, and I started doing this because I was having this incredible response from past trauma happen when the pandemic hit. So when the pandemic hit, I started waking up feeling like something was terribly wrong. And it would start in my ankles, and it would flood up my legs and go all the way up my body, and I would feel this wave come up. My immediate thought is, something's wrong. And my heart would start to race, and I'd feel this full-on like anxiety response. And I know what that is now. So I now know that the anxiety response of waking up, which so many people do, this is really actually very, very common.
People wake up anxious.
Yes, feeling like they're in trouble, or something's wrong, or something's about to go wrong.
Yeah, that's not good.
Well, if you grew up in a chaotic household,
That's normal.
yep. If you had a caregiver that gave you the silent treatment, or had mental illness, or had a drinking problem,
Or
if there was
narcissistic,
abuse in your
or,
house, yep, you did wake up.
Anxious.
Yeah, because your anxiety, by the way, was trying to protect you. It was putting you in a state of being alert so that you were ready in case something happened. But
Right.
for a ton of us, Lewis, we have lived our whole lives with a dysregulated nervous system. That's what I've come to learn during the pandemic. That I have literally lived since probably the 4th grade with my nervous system never truly resetting back to a calm, resting state. And so I started to wake up every morning in the pandemic, like so many people did. And I've always kind of had this sort of wake up and feeling like something's wrong. Like, Chris is mad. Like my first thing is like, Chris is already up, he's meditating, he's angry that I've slept 15 minutes longer than it. Like, it's so stupid. This is how we torture ourselves. But during the pandemic, it was like a full-on anxiety response. And so I started doing this thing where I would put my hands on my heart, like right in the center of my chest. I got big mitts just like you, so you can kind of hit the whole thing. Take a deep breath, and then I would say, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved. If you can say those things, in this moment, it's true. You are okay. You are safe, and you are loved, whether you're waking up in a mansion or a homeless shelter. And what would happen as I was doing this, high-fiving my heart, is you're pressing on the vagus nerve. Like, that's what you're actually toning. That's the same thing that Wim Hof is teaching with the ice bath. You're toning your vagus nerve. And what the vagus nerve is, as you very well know, because you talk about it on the show, is it's the switch between your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, fight or flight versus rest. So if you ever find yourself in a stressful state, give your heart a high five. Put your hands on your heart, go, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved. Repeat it 111 times if you need to. What you'll feel is you'll feel your nervous system start to settle. You'll feel yourself come back into your body. You'll feel your mind slow down. And you will literally take control of your nervous system. It is unbelievable. And it's also really important because, in researching this book, I talked to, the acclaimed Dr. Judy Willis, who's a incredible neuroscientist. And she explained something that I never knew, but it makes a lot of sense. If your nervous system is on edge, it's in a, alert state, you're dysregulated, it's impossible for your cognitive function of your brain to work. I can give you an example. If somebody were to bust in here with a gun and try to rob us, would you be able to do a math problem?
No.
No.
I'd be like, just thinking safety.
Yes, exactly.
Save my life.
I bet the majority of people actually walk around with a nervous system that is on edge like that, particularly post-pandemic.
Yeah.
And for me, the reason why, I've actually linked it all the way back. So when I was in the 4th grade, I was molested while I was sleeping by an older kid.
Wow.
And in the kind of array of things that can happen in terms of sexual abuse, mine was very tame.
Yeah.
Like, it was a one-time incident. It was a kid who was slightly older than me. It was confusing, not scary. I just possumed, disassociated, don't even remember how it ended. And for a long time, I didn't even remember it. And then I remembered it when I was 28 years old. And I believe that the reason why I have always woken up in a state on edge is because of that incident.
Since the 4th grade?
Yes.
Wow.
And the thing is, Lewis, is that the morning's a trigger. If you have that stored in your body, something happened to you, something's wrong, because something was wrong. And you don't have the tools, and no kid does, to smooth out your nervous system and heal the trauma, that trauma lives in your body.
Yes.
And so I believe most self-sabotaging behavior that people continue to repeat is nothing but stored trauma and your best ability to cope with it when it was happening.
That's why we sabotage.
Yes. So I don't think it's intentional. I really don't. Like even somebody who's diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, they don't know that they have that.
Right.
Like they're not like there's not, it's like such a programmed behavior. There's no, I'm going to go do the, I'm in love with this person. Let's go screw it up.
Right.
That's not what happens. And this is also why I'm telling you, I know I'm crazy passionate about this topic of this standing in front of the mirror and changing how you see yourself. If you don't get a hold of that story, I'm worthless, I'm unlovable, I screw everything up, I'm a bad person, I'm not good enough, nothing works out for me. If you don't change that and start cheering yourself forward, you will stay locked in these self-sabotaging patterns because you will act in a way that you believe it subconsciously or unconsciously. I know, it's heavy. Oh, sorry, keep sorry.
It's all good.
And now, how do they start to shift for those that are ready?
Okay, great. So if you are sick and tired of beating yourself up, if you are sick and tired of focusing on what's not working, if you are sick and tired of the self-doubt and the self-criticism and the self-hatred, this is a game changer. And I only learned this 18 months ago. So despite all of my success, Koya, on the outside, being me was this weird mix of having positive outbursts of energy and enthusiasm in the moment, combined with a deep, relentless, grinding internal voice that was critical, that had a lot of self-hatred, that was constantly making me feel like the world was aimed at me and that I was screwing everything up.
Yeah.
That was my experience. And I think that is the majority of people's experiences. That no matter how good it looks on the outside, the majority of human beings who are adults either can't look at themselves in the mirror, and this was a huge wake-up call in researching the high five habit. 50% of men and women, and this is not a blind, double research, PhD-backed study. This is looking at hundreds of thousands of people that are taking the high five challenge. This is looking at, the millions of people that follow me and the feedback that we're getting. 50% of the people that first try to do this high five habit, which I'll explain in just a second, report that they can't even look at themselves in the mirror. There is so much self-hatred,
Right.
or disgust, or judgment. It is so sad, and I am on a mission to wake everybody up and to teach everybody a fundamental, simple habit that unlocks science in your brain and in your nervous system to help you break the habit of self-rejection and self-hatred and self-doubt.
Right.
And that's where the high five habit comes in. And so the high five habit is very simple. First, I'm going to explain it, and then we can kind of unpack it however you think will benefit everybody that's listening. So all you're going to do is you're going to stand in front of the bathroom mirror, and I want this to become part of your morning routine. And there's lots of science around why I want you to do in the morning. We can get to that in a minute. But you're just going to stand in front of your bathroom mirror, and I want you to take a moment, and I want you to look at the human being in the mirror. And that right there is a complete change from what you're doing right now. Because what you're doing right now when you stand in front of the mirror and you brush your teeth, or you stand in front of the mirror and you get ready for your day, is you either ignore yourself, you won't even look at yourself. That's a form of self-rejection.
Right.
Or you focus on all the things that you need to fix. Your hair, your makeup, the things you don't like. And so you start your day with a habit in your morning routine of rejecting yourself. And that habit of self-rejection has created the insecurity that you feel.
Yeah.
That habit of self-rejection is what drives your need for validation externally. That habit of self-rejection is why you think you're only worthy if somebody else says that you're worthy. And so the high five habit is all about using science to break the habit of self-rejection and replace it with a habit of self-empowerment, self-acceptance, self-compassion, self-love. And here's how you do it. You're just going to stand there. You're going to look at the person in the mirror. And notice I'm not saying reflection.
Right.
There are two people in the bathroom every morning. There's you and there's a human being in the mirror who has been waiting for you to wake up and realize that they're there. They are trying. They are doing their best. They are so beaten down by your relentless criticism. They need you. They need you to see the positive. They need you to compliment them. They need to be kind to them.
Yeah.
And so I want you to take that in for a minute because you're staring at your soul, at your spirit, at your essence, at your humanity. And most of us have never actually considered that. I hadn't. And then what I want you to do is I want you to just reflect for a second as you look at that human being. What does she or he or they need from me today? Something you've never asked yourself. Because right now, what your morning routine is that you drift into your day and you start thinking about everybody else. What do you need to do for everybody else?
Right.
What's all the things on your to-do list? You have skipped the most important person, and that's the human being in the mirror. And I want you to literally stop and ask yourself, what do she, he, or they need from me? And it might be, I need you to have some freaking fun. I need you to stop being a bitch. I need you to be a little more positive here. I need you to reach out to some people.
Yeah.
And ask for some help. Something will pop in your mind.
Yeah.
And then take a deep breath. And then as cheesy as it sounds, I want you to raise your hand and I want you to high five that human being in the mirror. And something crazy is going to happen. So this is why this is so revolutionary. Regardless of how weird the high five habit feels, regardless of how much you may resist it, regardless of how kind of corny it is, you will immediately feel your mood shift because your brain doesn't know the difference between high-fiving somebody else and high-fiving yourself.
That's what I love about it. I love that it's so simple and silly because we need to play more.
Yes. And so when you give somebody a high five, Koya, what does the high five communicate?
Yes. We got this. You're awesome. Just love.
Yes.
Basically, it communicates love.
It does. You're right. And it communicates a lot of different forms of love.
Yeah.
So it could be a high five that's really encouraging, I see this is hard. You got this.
Yeah.
It could be shake it off. Keep going. It could be I love you. It believe in you. We're together. It's partnership. It's like this massive, wonderful feeling of love. You have never high fived somebody and thought, I hate you. I hope you fail.
Yeah.
You're ugly. You're worthless. You've never done it. And so you can stand before yourself in the bathroom mirror and hate the person you see. Yeah. But the second you physically raise your arm and you do the motion that you've done your whole life, your brain shuts off all thinking and it taps into the programming in your mind that says, I believe in you. I love you. I see you. Keep going. And then you feel this boost in your mind because, and in your mood, every time somebody else is giving you a high five, your brain has released dopamine. That's why high fives feel so good.
Yeah.
The other reason why a high five feels so good is because your nervous system recognizes it as somebody celebrating you. And so you get this affirming life energy that jolts through your body. And so your brain, again, and your nervous system doesn't know the difference between me high-fiving you and me high-fiving myself. So even on my lowest days, Koya, when I high-five myself, I get a dopamine drip.
Yeah.
And I get this nervous system boosting the energy. And that's why it feels so good. We are using programming in you and aiming it back at you so that you have the benefit of belief, of self-love, of positive mental programming, of dopamine, and of a jolt through your nervous system. It's freaking bananas.
That's amazing. Yeah. I love that. I love that it's so simple. I love giving myself a high five. And I love something that you say. You say, and I don't know if this is your quote or something from someone else, but you say, the way you view yourself is the way you view the world.
It's true.
That's powerful.
It's true. Well, let's talk about people pleasing. So many of us struggle with people pleasing. Well, people pleasing for a long time, I thought people pleasing was about making other people like me. that's what you're doing, but that's actually not the source of people pleasing. People pleasing is not about the need to be liked by other people.
Right.
People pleasing results from you not liking yourself. So people pleasing is about you and your self-hatred and your insecurity.
Wow.
Yes.
That's going to wake a lot of people up.
What did you just get from that?
People pleasing is more about how you feel about yourself than how you feel about others.
Correct. Because here's the thing. If you like yourself, even though you're not where you are, you know, even though if you like yourself, even if you don't like where you are in your life right now, if you can still look in the mirror and see a person who's trying, a person who's worthy of support, a person that you're going to root for, a person that you like, because you deep down know, even though you're way more than you want to, even though you don't have the money you want, even though you're not in a relationship yet, whatever it is that you've been bashing yourself for, if you can look in the mirror and see somebody you genuinely like, because you know deep down they're a good person and they're trying and they've survived a lot and they are a person that's worthy of being liked, because you know who they are at their core. If you can feel that way about yourself and treat yourself that way by giving yourself a high five, that's how you demonstrate that you like yourself. When you go out into the world, if somebody doesn't like you, it does not take away from the fact that you still like yourself.
Right.
If you treat yourself with respect and somebody out in the world disrespects you, that will not change the fact that you still treat yourself with respect.
Right.
The core problem is that most of us look in the mirror and reject the person that we see. And then we bring that insecurity out into the world. And we are looking at lovers and bosses and friends and family to then make us feel secure or make us feel loved, when the root problem is we don't love and like ourselves. And so we got to bring all of that back in house.
Right.
Using the high five habit, you can show yourself, demonstrate to yourself, and practice what a person who likes and loves and respects themselves does, which is they wake up every day and they treat themselves with loving kindness. And the best part for me about the high five habit is you actually don't have to say a word. And in fact, I recommend that for the first 5 days, you don't. Because your self-critic and your brain programming is so negative and relentless, and it's been in there for decades, that I want you to feel the benefit of the science.
Right.
I want you to just stand there and look the human being in the eyes in the mirror. And I want you to raise your hand and notice what you're feeling. You can't help but crack a smile after you do this for a couple days because of the dopamine.
Right.
You can't help but shift how you see yourself because of the nervous system wiring. We've had reports back now from people who have said this really interesting thing. They've said, you know how can you recall a time in your life where you actually remember getting high fives?
Yeah.
When was it? Can you describe it? Put us at the
Basketball.
scene. Okay, put us right at the scene.
Oh, yeah. So playing basketball, I mean, that is the best place for high fives. High school, I mean, for a whole year, I rode the bench. But when I actually started getting rebounds, making points, high five. The more high fives I got, the better I got, because it boosted my confidence in myself.
Correct. And, you know, there's a study actually with the NBA that proves this.
Yeah. So
they took a look at NBA teams. Researchers did. I think this was in 2011. There's a massive article in the Wall Street Journal about this, as well as a published academic study. They looked at NBA teams. And do you know you can predict what teams are going to have the winningest record at the end of the season by looking at behavior in the preseason? And the behavior that predicts whether or not an NBA team is going to have a winning season or not is the number of pats on the back, fist bumps, and high fives that a team gives one another in the preseason.
Wow.
Because just as you said, based on your lived, felt experience playing basketball, being in high school, being on a team, feeling the encouragement, the momentum, the support. High fives aren't gestures. They communicate trust and partnership and belief. So when you high five a teammate, you're communicating, we're in this, I believe in you, shake off that shot, even though you're on the bench, you're a valued member of this team, keep trying, keep going. And the corresponding data about the teams with the worst record was also true. They had the least number of pats on the back and fist bumps and high fives. Why? Well, when every player's in it for themselves, it creates distrust and selfishness.
Right.
And so by high-fiving yourself in the mirror, you can create that same partnership with yourself, and that same momentum starts to get created every single morning when you send yourself into the game of life every day, the way you would send yourself back into the game of basketball after having a team huddle.
I love that. I love that. And it actually brings me to one of the most important pillars of Get Loved Up, which is spirituality. And I kind of want to dive into spirituality with you because I feel like giving that high five is bringing people back into divine alignment with themselves.
Okay, say that again, because that is exactly right.
Giving that high five is bringing people back into alignment with themselves, with spirit, with the universe, with God. Because that negative self-talk is taking you out of alignment with love, out of alignment with spirit. And so that one act, because I know you say habits, I say ritual. We have so many different language, but what I feel when I give myself a high five and when I practice that positive self-talk is alignment with spirit.
1,000%. So all of the negative talk, like remember, let's go back to the two human beings in the bathroom, you and the human being in the mirror.
Yeah.
The negative self-talk stands between you two. And when you go to raise your hand and high five yourself, it is a moment of divinity with yourself, with your universe, with the spirit, with God, with whatever you believe in. You will feel that energy if you allow yourself to. You will feel yourself coming home. You will feel yourself stepping back into alignment with who you truly are in your essence, which is a being that is worthy of love, a being that is worthy of support, simply because you exist. Like today is my 53rd birthday. And when I think about birthdays, right, what are you actually celebrating?
Right.
You're celebrating life. You're celebrating your breath. You're celebrating the fact that you're still here.
Yeah.
And there is something divine about that. And every single morning, if you make the high five habit a ritual that starts your day, you are also bringing the celebration of your life and your existence into your morning. And the thing that I love about this, because, you know, I love gratitude and I love meditation, and these are extraordinary practices that with documented benefit. You know, I'm married to somebody who's a Buddhist meditation instructor and a certified yoga instructor.
I love Chris.
Yeah, Chris is just awesome. And you know, interesting thing about Chris, though, is that here he is practicing every single day. He is a disciplined guy, right? Meditating daily for probably 8 years. Okay. Meditation teaches you self-awareness, and it teaches you how to not react to thoughts. It doesn't change the default opinion that you have about yourself. Gratitude, if you look at what most of us write down when we practice gratitude, it is external. It is rarely something within you. And what I love about the high five habit and why this simple ritual is so divine and spiritual is because it is about reconnection with self. It is and will. What I've experienced after doing this now for over a year is when I step into the bathroom, I don't even need to high five myself. I still do.
Right.
But what's happened over this repetitive ritual of raising my hand in celebration, encouragement, empathy, support, and love to myself every morning, no matter where I am, where I'm waking up, how I feel, just part of how I begin the day, is over time, because of the science, it has reset my mind.
Right.
I don't even see a person I would ever criticize. I don't even see my face. I just see this human being that I love.
That's beautiful. And I think with meditation, with the high five, with these rituals, it gives us the time to come back to center. And people use things in different ways, but it is the opportunity to come back to center, to kind of crowd out the noise.
Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe, because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.